Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm the Obscure Joe PT, and for today what we have in here it is Battlefield 1 Beta. So this game was developed by DICE, the same developers that have been developing all the Battlefields until today, and of course they are using Frostbite 3, which is an engine that have been powering the latest EA game titles. So all the EA games titles have been using Frostbite 3 and have been evolving from time to time, and so of course they became more and more demanding, and yeah, that's about it. And so let's probably take a look on the graphic settings right now, because that's something that we want to know, how you are going to run the game. Alright, so this is the graphical settings. I'm using 1080p, and there is controls for brightness, field of view, all this kind of stuff. I'm running with full screen. All these options in here are pretty much post-processing solutions. Most of the people don't like these effects, so I will be removing them, but this is optional. For me it's okay to use them, but I respect the decision of most users and I'm going to disable them all. Okay, and also of course motion blur. The motion blur in this game is a nice implementation, but probably most of the people won't be liking it. I'm not using DirectX 12 because DirectX 12 it is a mess for me. It's working really bad on this game. The game spent most of its time stopped than actually playing, and all these settings are with the low settings 1080p. And as you can see, we can't disable anti-aliasing on this game. You are forced to use temporal anti-aliasing. So for this map I will be using Rotterdam, the Conquest mode, and with 64 players. This game, I mean this map, it's very CPU intensive. It's even more CPU intensive than Amiens on the Battlefield 1, so you can really expect bad news. So this is the results that I got. I tested the game with my custom median settings, which is everything at median aside from the textures and the mesh quality, which remains on low. Textures because it consumes a lot of VRAM. The low textures already consume 2 GB of the VRAM, and mesh because it affects the CPU. But all the rest of the settings was median, and as you can see, we got a worse 1% low, but the average was more or less at the same level of the low settings. It's hard to get a precise benchmark because everything is changing on this game. With the low settings it was a little bit more consistent, a little bit higher than 30 frames per second with a small drop there. But for me the results are a little bit disappointing, but I can't really judge them. I mean, the Phenom II that I have in here have exactly 9 years old. It's a 9 years old CPU. So, and Battlefield, it is a game that it is really demanding to the CPU, especially this map. And as expected, I have a massive bottleneck. On this recording, you are going to see the game be playing at around 15 frames per second to 20. This is because the game runs exactly like I did tell you on the graphic, but when recording, since the PC is already overloaded with work, when you put the recorder above of that, the CPU and graphic card just can't handle the game, okay? So basically what I get, it's an experience above 30 frames per second with these settings that you are seeing over here, but what happens when you record is that the game do really drop from 30s to 20s because of the recorder, okay? But anyway, I wanted to show you a little bit of what you can expect graphically from the low settings. This is the low settings. It looks impressive for the low settings. This is the most beautiful low settings I ever seen in my entire life. Look at these shadows everywhere, and great brightness and great illumination system. I mean, this is the low settings. How the hell this is possible? This is amazing, okay? But yeah, the performance is a little bit disappointed. Battlefield, it is a game that should be played with 60 frames per second, or at least close to that, but unfortunately without recording what I get is something like you saw, like an average of around 40s, 30s, and at the best case solution it will be 50 frames per second. So I'm a little bit disappointed with the performance, but again, I can't really judge it because the CPU have 9 years old and the CPU is really taking a lot of work. If you have a better CPU, let's imagine that you have a much better CPU, an i5 or a recent i3 CPU, with this graphic card. I'm expecting that you are able to reach 60 frames per second on this game with the low settings. Maybe there will be a drop or two to 50s, but I'm pretty sure that it will be very playable with this graphic card and with a better CPU. But since what I have is a Phenom II, unfortunately what I get it's really those averages around 40 frames per second and the minimum around 30s, okay? So that was a very quick insight about the performance. Hope you did enjoy it, and I do hope you keep enjoying the rest of the video. Thank you a lot for watching, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye guys, thank you a lot.
Objective dog is ours now, soldiers. Listen, soldiers, we are losing objective dog.
Greetings, chum.
Objective Charlie is now ours.
That's the objective taken.
Attention, we have lost objective dog.
Taking it.
We have lost objective A. Turn this around. Good, we've taken objective Able.
Right there, look out! Tank, see it?
Losing objective Charlie, soldiers. Be aware that we are losing objective Charlie.
Help this grenade! Turning up! First aid! Get fixed up!
Objective Able has been lost.
Attention!